I will be brief. Alistair and I have met on a couple of other occasions elsewhere. And if you want to know more about our speaker today, I think you go to YouTube, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yes, look up here. What do we put in? Just your name?
I guess so, they'll turn up.
They are, and you'll really find out what the real man is all about. In Alistair's spare time, still?
No, retired.
No, retired from being a football umpire. So all questions you're allowed to ask about football tonight. Alistair, in your other life that pays the bills.
Oh, I thought you did that right. Not much to do that.
What today, anyway, your role is family violence, and you're based in Box Hill now, originally Glen Waverley. Yep. It's something that's of enormous problem in our community. I do think that it was there before. We just didn't know very much about it.
You pinched my speech.
Oh, sorry. We had a similar vein at Blackburn back in November, where a couple of people from the counselling services come along, and a couple of people, what you were saying about some people who live in Blackburn and Wattle Park and Boxer. Oh no, we're all right, it doesn't happen here. She said it does, you've just got higher fences here, so therefore you hide it.
Yep.
Welcome to
Thank you.
this meeting this evening, and we look forward to hearing how family violence has been restricted, restrained, whatever.
How we're addressing it.
How are you dealing with it? Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Okay, Alistair Gall's my name. I'm a sergeant with Victoria Police. I've been in the police force for about 21, 22 years. Previous to my position as Eastern Division 1 Family Violence Advisor, which Eastern Division 1, for those that don't know, incorporates the cities of Manningham, Whitehorse, Monash and Boroondara. Before that I spent 7 or 8 years at Nuttawading and had Neighbourhood Watch as one of my portfolios. I was also what's called the Family Violence Liaison Officer at Nuttawading for my time there. Just to go on to football, I umpired in the Eastern Footy League for 26 seasons as a field umpire and did over 500 games. And I did a few games with Vic Parker, and Vic will tell you how good he was, but the reality is he's not that good. It's the field umpires that run the game, not the goal umpires, but they beg to differ. What I intend to do, I came here about 2 years ago, just after my appointment as the advisor for Eastern Division 1, and we've got a family violence unit that specialises in dealing with family violence incidents, not as first responders, but as investigators. So we're 2 years on, a lot of water's gone under the bridge since then, so what I'm going to do is probably just give a little bit of a history type lesson of what Victoria Police does, how we respond to family violence, and also some of the highlights that our unit's done, and we'll give a few statistics for you, which are available through the Crime Agency, the Crime Statistics Victoria Agency, and also just give you a few case studies with no names and no pictures, and just to show you the latest scorecard to detecting family violence offenders. And I think what's got to be remembered is family violence cuts across all socio-economic groups. Doesn't matter whether you're the down and out, the unemployed, or a doctor, or an accountant, lawyer, everything and anything. So it cuts across all social boundaries. No, there's no class distinction. The issue we've got in our particular area in Boroondara, for example, is under-reporting because of socio-economic issues, shame, pride. As Ray was saying, big fences, that does hide the problem, particularly in Boroondara. But the positive side is last year there was a 15% increase in reporting of family violence. The statewide average was 9%, so we're just chipping away. So we'll start. There's the intro. Victoria Police operate on what's called a Family Violence Code of Practice, which Christine Nixon initiated in 2005. It's been adjusted here and there, but essentially it gives us our rules of engagement, how we're going to deal with family violence. One of the things coming from that was the appointment of family violence advisors. That's my role. We were one of the last areas to get an advisor Before that, it was spread between our area and the outer eastern area. Michelle Clooney did the role for a number of years. So my role is to come to meetings, working with stakeholders, and basically representing Victoria Police. Our unit, Family Violence Unit, and I operate differently to other family violence advisors. I've been an operational policeman my entire life. A lot of advisors stick to the, I'll call the corporate administration side of things, compliance, but I'll go out and assist our troops and catch a crook and process offenders. I was saying to Ray before, I was doubtful whether I was going to get here because we've actually got a couple of members up at Bendigo processing an offender at the moment. So cut a long story short, I was going to go up there for a bit of direct supervision. It's a nice day to go for a drive as well, but our fellow in that particular case, he got released 2 weeks ago. Offended within 2 days, magistrate put him on bail, report twice a day to Bendigo Police Station. We've got over 200 breaches now, so he's getting locked up. I've heard that already, so that's where we'll go. We'll go anywhere. If our offenders it's happened here, we'll go and track down our offenders. So I'm the advisor, so I come along. I'm the PR man, I guess, the one who each 24-hour station has a family violence liaison officer, and that's a sergeant or above. The bulk of family violence incidents are investigated at the station level. Our unit, the Family Violence Unit, we only look at 2% of the total number of reports. We look at the real high-risk stuff, and I'll give you some examples a little bit later. At Ringwood Magistrates Court, there's a court liaison officer for all the police-initiated intervention orders or executing of family violence safety notices that are issued by police during the course of their duties, and that's actually been increased. There's 1.5 members now, part-time positions being created there due to the volume of work. Ringwood Magistrates Court's also increased the family violence days for police. It used to be 2 days a week, a Tuesday and a Friday, but now they've incorporated it as a Thursday. The police initiate 70% of all the family violence intervention orders at Ringwood Magistrates Court, so we're the main driver of putting in safety measures to protect the victim. Victims are generally female. 85% of victims are female. Family violence is a male issue, it's a man's issue. It's about power, control and domination. We're not going to arrest our way out of it. It's got to be cultural change, education and I guess shame to a large degree. So it's a man's issue, it's men that have to change their behaviour. True, there are female offenders as well, but generally speaking 85%, the scales are tipped, it's a man's issue. And Family Violence Unit, we operate now out of Box Hill Police Station. We have 6 members, and they're on the secondment from local stations, and I also have another sergeant there as a team leader. A lot of other family violence units, team leaders in charge of the unit and the investigation side, myself and Andrea Noonan, who's the other sergeant, they're willing to change their roles. If I couldn't make it tonight, I'd have tried to get Andrea here. So we interchange our roles to a large degree. So basically, as the troops find out, both of us are in charge, we back each other up because you've got to do that in a small team environment. So that's where we're structured in Inner Eastern. And I'll read off the PowerPoint because it's a lot easier than I can get all the points I want to try and get across to you in the time here today. And we'll go from there. Has anyone got any idea how many women are murdered by their former partner, current partner in Australia each fortnight? Any idea?
Quite a lot, I should
Quite a lot. There's about 3 or 4 nights. So last year there was about 80 straight across Australia that were murdered by their former partner.
Former, that's always former, is it?
Sorry?
No,
Tends
current,
to be
current.
former partner. did
Former
you say?
partner or current partner.
Oh,
So some form of intimate relationship. In 2015, there was about 74,500 family violence reports reported to Victoria Police. 7 years ago, there was 35,000. Why is that? Increased confidence in reporting, change of, I guess, police attitude to a large degree, and just the shame of being involved in family violence incidents. It's certainly created coverage in the media, and we've recently had the Family Violence Royal Commission with 227 recommendations. We're trying to get agencies working together, information sharing, and also increased funding for various projects within the family violence space.
So how much impact does someone like Rosemary Bratty have?
Well, she's had this. She's brought it to a head, and I think that's probably the line in the sand. where unfortunately, his son Luke got murdered by his father. When was that? 2014 or 2013? Sorry,
2 years ago.
15, yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah, time does march on. But that was probably that line in the sand where enough is enough. Children shouldn't have to be subjected to that behaviour. So that she certainly is very passionate and spoke at Burundara White Ribbon event last year, and she's brought the issue really to a head. So again, it's that public awareness. And I speak at a few different things. And I related to drink driving when we were probably all growing up and a lot younger. If you got caught drink driving, that was a bit of bad luck. Now, if you got caught drink driving, well, you're a bloody idiot, and it's a social stigma to a large degree. It's unacceptable. Family violence is going through that same process at the moment. I'd say in 20 years' time, if you're a family violence offender, you'll be looked on fairly harshly amongst the community, amongst your peers. If not, it's already starting to happen. On average, there's about 3 or 7 incidents of significant violence in the family home before someone will contact police. So when the police go along, the issue hasn't just happened on that day generally. It's been going on for a long, long, long time. So the police, to a large degree, is a band-aid solution. What we've got to do is try and separate the parties, try and get the gist of what's happening, put into place some civil options, which means a safety notice where we take the offender and remove them from the house for a short period of time, and initiate a court as a means to get into court to get an intervention order and to identify criminal offences. So we're doing that a lot better. In our area, and I'm talking about Eastern Division 1, not just Whitehorse, but in Eastern Division 1, according to the Crime Stats Agency, there was about 3,850 family violence reports for the year. So you divide that figure by 365, 10.5 family violence reports a day. And they can take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, but on average 3 to 4 hours to complete. So running with the cops to do it, we're dealing with domestic abuse. And intermixed with that, the main drivers of family violence are our old friends, alcohol, drugs, mental health. Somewhere along the line there's a combination of 1, 2 or 4 factors in there, and also just bad behaviour. So what is family violence? Leads perfectly onto the next slide. And this is cut from the Family Violence Protection Act. Family violence is any behaviour that in any way controls or dominates a family member and causes them to feel fear for their own or other family members' safety or well-being. It can include physical, sexual, psychological, emotional or economic abuse. And any behaviour that causes a child to hear, witness or otherwise be exposed to the effects of that behaviour. So it's far-ranging. I think when we think of family violence, we think of the physical side of it. But there's a lot of harassment, threats, intimidation, coercion. If you don't do what I say or do, I'll do this to you. If you don't let me control the money I give to you, there'll be fear of retribution. An example of power and control is a separated couple in Bayswater North, where the gentleman of the house, or the separated party, returned to the house and breached an intervention order, went to the backyard, started digging a hole, got the family cat, put the family cat with the head exposed. Started up the lawnmower. Cat survived, nothing happened, but it was that behaviour in front of 2 young kids and his wife, and he told his wife, if I go meow, you know what that means. You don't ring the police, I want this or I want that. Controlling, intimidating that behaviour. So when the police came, and it took a little while, probably 2 or 3 visits with the family violence unit out that way did this job, to debrief the victim, because she was saying, oh, when he goes meow, I get all hysterical, I get really agitated, and it didn't make sense. But when you got the full story, it made perfect sense. So he got convicted and jailed for breaching the order by those actions, because the threat was, I'll run over the cat if you do this in front of the kids. So sometimes it takes a little while to get the full story, and as I say, we at our family violence unit and most of the family violence units, we look at the real high risk where there's immediate threats to the safety of the victim and or children. I'll go on to a few case studies and one we did a couple of weeks ago. So the main functions of the police when we go to a job is to provide safety and support, identify and investigate incidents, prosecute criminal offences. Even if the victim is not willing to pursue criminal charges, if we can get enough evidence, we'll do it. With the police charging the defendant, not